and managing the resources and suppliers that are essential to the operation of an organization. So you must be able to manage your suppliers, because suppliers are one of the key stakeholders in any organization. Therefore, they are very important because they ensure that you're able to get resources in your organization. So supply management can also be called procurement in some books. So supply management includes the purchase of physical goods, information, services, and any other necessary resources that will enable the company to continue operating and growing. So we have various resources that are very critical in any organization. And one of the resources is the physical resources, because they help the organization to be able to run their day-to-day activities. Then we have the human resource, which are the employees, who are very critical in any organization. Without the employees, it becomes very difficult for you to work in the organization. Then the last resource is the financial resource. You must have the money to be able to buy the physical resources that will help you to work the best way possible. So supply management is more than simply buying raw materials or finished goods and contracting for services. It is a systematic and business process that goes further from procurement to include coordination of pre-production logistics and inventory management. So you must be able to manage your inventory for you to be successful in your company or organization. So what are some of the objectives of supply department? In every organization, we have a supply department. So what is the importance of supply department? Number one is to avail materials, supplies, and equipment at the minimum possible cost. So it helps the organization to be able to have the materials that they require in the least minimum possible cost. So you're not supposed to spend a lot of money when you're bringing materials to your organization. By so doing, you'll be able to reduce the costs in your organization. Then the second objective is to ensure continuous flow of production. So the work of supplies management is to ensure that at the end of the day, the organization has what it takes in terms of material to ensure that materials are not interrupted in any way. It also helps to increase asset turnover. So the rate at which assets are converted into cash is possible as a result of supply management. Then the other thing is that it helps to develop alternative source of supply. Remember, it is always important for you to have an alternative source of your supply by ensuring you have more than one supplier for a particular good or service. If this is possible, then supplies management will help you to ensure you have an alternative source of supply. Then it also helps to achieve maximum integration with other departments in the company. So remember, you can't work alone in procurement or supply management. You must work with other departments, or you must work with other functions in the organization. Therefore, supplies will help you to work with other departments. It also helps to train and develop employees. Remember, in supplies department, we have employees who are working in that department. Therefore, it will help to ensure that at the end of the day, these people have what it takes to ensure they have the knowledge and they have the skills in supply management. Then we have efficient record keeping and management reporting. Remember, when you're in procurement, you normally interact with various documents. You normally interact with the invoices, you interact with delivery notes, you interact with the return notes. So for this process to be successful, you must ensure that record keeping is up to date. Therefore, purchasing will allow you to ensure that is possible. Then the second lesson was lesson two. Lesson two. Just a minute, lesson 2 was talking about lesson 2 was supply management in liaison with other departments. Remember, we said supply management cannot work in a vacuum. It must interact with other departments in the organization. And some of these departments may include procurement and design or engineering, design engineering. So they normally interact with design engineering by ensuring that engineering is able to give them technical specification in the organization. And procurement will also ensure that they procure those items according to the specification that has been described or prescribed by the design or engineering department. They also ensure that the engineering department is able to do maintenance, the maintenance of those machines that are in production. So basically, they'll be able to coordinate all those activities. Then they can also interact with production department, procurement and production department by ensuring that the schedules, the manufacturing schedules are followed to the latter. Then the other thing is procurement also will ensure that they do procurement plans for production purposes by ensuring they have all the materials that are required for production so that production is not interrupted in any way. Then the other thing is procurement and sales department, or marketing department. Remember, the sales department is the one that interacts with customers. So they'll be able to gather information from customers, and this information will be communicated to the people in procurement so that in the event they want to do new developments in terms of product, they'll be able to have all the information that they require. Then procurement and finance. Remember, finance department is the one that offers financial aid to these other departments. Basically, they come up with budgets on behalf of other departments. And procurement, after giving the finance department the various requisitions or the various plans, they'll be able to allocate finances for the procurement department. Other departments may include marketing department, finance department, and personnel department. Personnel department is another name for human resource department. They are the people who hire employees, who hire experts who are going to work in procurement department. The other thing we will talk about today is centralization versus decentralization purchasing. How can purchasing be organized? It can be organized in two ways. We have centralized and decentralized purchasing. Centralized purchasing is a method of procurement of all types of material supplies through a single department or a single branch or a head office. They are directly accountable to the top managers for all the duties that they do. The advantages of centralized purchasing: number one, it avoids issues of duplication of efforts or buying functions. Number two, they can concentrate on their assignment areas, therefore a better way of doing activities. Number three, it is possible for the top to take advantage of specialized skills of the buying staff. So those people have a specialized skill, and by so doing, they'll be able to give those expertise in the buying process. So bulk buying strengthens the bargaining power. So when you centralize purchasing, you'll be able to ensure at the end of the day, you benefit from economies of scales. It enables the organization and the development of good relationship with suppliers. Because you are with your suppliers and you relate with those suppliers, you'll be able to improve the relationship Then it will enable purchase of standardized items. You'll be able to purchase uniform items, and this will reduce on the issue of costs. Well, the disadvantage, number one, the specific requirement of individual items may not be attended successfully. This is because those people do not know the requirements of every department, and this might bring issues of purchasing the wrong items. Then the centralized standard procedure may result in delay in receiving materials. So there might be issues of delay in receiving of materials because of the centralized nature of procurement. Then it is likely that the centralized buying staff may be experts in buying varied types, may not be experts. So you cannot be experts in buying all items that are required in the organization. Then in case of multi-plant unit located at the distant place and receiving their requirements from centralized storage may be difficult. So if you have different places, then it becomes difficult for you to receive items. Then it can be affected by employees' morale. If the employees are not treated well, then they can affect the whole process of purchasing. Number two, we have decentralized purchasing. This is a type of purchasing where different departments or different branches are given the freedom to procure their items independently. It is also referred to as devolved purchasing. One of the advantages of this purchasing is that there is closer, the users are closer to the local needs. Number two, we have a response to time to divisional or plant needs may be rapid and of higher quality. So you might end up receiving items that are of higher quality. Then we have possibility of closer relationship with suppliers. Because you are near your suppliers, you might end up relating better with your suppliers. Then the last advantage is that local suppliers are consequent lower transportation cost. So the transportation cost will be reduced tremendously. Number one disadvantage is that reduced leverage that exists with consolidation of purchasing. So you might end up not buying. The consolidated similar requirement may not be consolidated or put together, and this might affect the issue of economies of scale. Then purchasing will tend to report the lower organizational level. Remember, these are branches that have been given the independence of procuring. Therefore, those people basically do not make major decisions because they are at the lower level of the organization, and this might affect the whole process of procurement. Lack of standardization, because different departments, different branches will source their own independent requirement. Therefore, it will be different from different branches. Then we have cost of purchasing is relatively higher. Cost of purchasing is relatively higher. This means that at the end of the day, you might end up buying using a lot of money, and that might be an issue. Then you have limited expertise in requirement and few opportunities to cross-functional collaboration. So because people in those branches do not have the expertise, they might end up buying the wrong item, and that might bring issues at the end of the day. Then the other thing we will talk about today is the importance of supply management. Number one, it helps in boosting customer service. Remember, when you have what it takes in terms of inventory, when you have what it takes in terms of resources, your production will not be interrupted, and therefore it might lead to better customer service because customers will always find what they want at the right time. Number two is reduced operating cost, and this operating cost may include purchasing costs, production cost, and supply chain cost will be reduced tremendously. Number three, it will improve the financial position of the organization, may improve the financial position of the organization. And financial position, therefore, it means that your balance sheet and your books of comprehensive income will be up to date, and this will increase your profits. Then I'll introduce the concept of fundamental of purchasing. Purchasing is one of the core activities in any economy, and different organizations, be it in merchandising, be it in manufacturing or even non-profit, are continuously engaging in purchasing activity. So we have two classifications of purchasing. Number one, we have mercantile purchasing, and number two, we have industrial purchasing. So industrial purchasing is all about procurement for purposes of consumption or conversion. But mercantile purchasing, on the other hand, is whereby you buy for commercial activities. You are buying items for the purposes of reselling those items at a profit. Any question? So we have various activities there under industrial purchasing, where we have raw materials, we have components, we have consumables, stores and supplies, office appliances, and we have spare parts and tools, machines and equipment. Is any question? Any question? Any question? Joy,
yeah.
Hello. Do you have a question?
No, no.
Joseph Santain. Santain, Joseph. Have a question?
Nope. No
question. Then radio. I don't know who radio ni nani. Radio.
No question.
No question. Yes, though that is a summary for last week. We'll be having this class every Monday at 11:30 to 12. So in case you have any questions, you always feel free to ask. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
So my number is displayed there in case you have any challenges on the e-learning or you have any challenges, you may always ask. So when you go to your dashboard, you'll find my number there. So I would like to stop there for today. Then we shall meet on Monday, same time. I brief you on what went through the week. Is that okay?
Yeah.
See you when you see me. Eh?
Thank you.
Bye.